This portion of New Day Northwest is sponsored by Advantage Legal Group.
Several real estate tracking websites list just more than 8,000 foreclosed homes for auction in Western Washington, and even more homeowners are on the brink of foreclosure. The attorneys at Advantage Legal Group use a little-known Washington state law to help homeowners get up to date and keep their homes. To share the latest success stories, please welcome back attorney and founder Jonathan Smith. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Welcome back. So let's remind people again about Washington State's Foreclosure Fairness Act. This is a law we cannot talk about enough because people won't find it out, you know, practically any other way.
Right. And the Washington State Department of Commerce that oversees this program estimates that 90% of the people who could have potentially availed themselves of the program failed to do so, and the primary reason is nobody really knows about it.
If you don't know it, you can't do it. So
Exactly.
what is it and how does it help us?
Well, it allows homeowners to force most banks to enter into negotiations to avoid foreclosure, which is usually a modification as a result of the window of opportunity to request mortgage mediation opens upon the issuance of the notice of default. So when you're into the foreclosure process, it then closes 20 days after the recording of the notice of trustee sale in the county in which you live. You cannot request it yourself. It has to be requested through a housing counselor or an attorney. So you can't request it and the bank cannot request it for you. But it's a highly effective way to get into negotiations with them face to face, because it happens in the county in which you live with the bank's attorneys, and we've had great amount of success with it.
And I'm not being anti-bank, but I know that a lot of people have had that experience where they're behind, they're in some trouble, they send the letters, they get basically blown off. This law requires that the bank come to the table.
That's correct. And we do this, you know, probably about half my clientele right now is actually not in foreclosure, and we're doing more traditional modifications because time is moving on and it's not your friend. Rental rates are skyrocketing.
Absolutely.
You have to have good credit to get a rental property. So if you are long behind on your mortgage and you're thinking you're going to rent, you might want to go out into the rental market this weekend and take a look at whether you're going to be able to do that.
It's frightening. It will cost you maybe more than what you would spend just getting yourself straightened out here. So let's take a look at what you've been able to do for some customers, and maybe people can get an idea of how this works.
Sure. And as you know, on the show, most of the people we've been doing up to now, we were getting down to 2% interest rates fixed. But the Freddie Mac rate went up today to over 4%, so it's 4.04. So rates are rising again, and we're having a more difficult time getting those really low rates. The first example I have is a Nation Star loan. The original payment was $3,794 a month. That's fully loaded. It was a 6.625 fixed rate. When we got them the modification, they were 33 months behind.
Wow.
Their new payment is $1,243 a month, which is a new interest rate of 3.25%. So we're really looking at a $674 payment reduction, or 17.78%. So
that is amazing. And now the original payment was $3,700. It's down to $1,200.
That seems like it might be a typo there someplace.
Okay, so maybe it's 32.
Yeah,
instead
that may
I think that's
been.
what we're looking at. And the point is, though, they're down to 3.25%, and that's a 40-year fixed, right?
And they're current.
And they're current, and they're in their home. Okay.
You know, if nothing else, you then get to work on your credit so that if you do want to move or buy something in the future, you have your credit back.
And you've recovered. You know, you've demonstrated that you can recover from something like this. Okay. The second example.
My next example is a Green Tree servicer loan. Payment was $2,506. They were in a 7.87 fixed rate. They were 75 months past due. That's a lot of months. And their new payment is $1,118, and their new interest rate is 3.25, and that's a $1,388 payment reduction, or 55.39%.
That is phenomenal. And imagine the relief of getting out from under being that far behind. And it's proof positive that the negotiations are really important, because You know, I wouldn't have even thought that was possible to come to terms if you were that far behind.
That's true. Most of those, the really far behind ones, were originally Bank of America. Bank of America is behind on thousands of loans in Washington State. They had a lot of legal problems back in 2011 and 12.
Okay. Third example.
Third example is an SLS loan. The original payment was $4,504. Original interest rate was 9.125. They were 69 months past due. And the new payment is $2,523. Now, their interest rate is 5%, but it's still a $1,980 a month payment reduction, or 43.97%.
And they keep their home. All right, let's take a look at the fourth example real quick.
Wells Fargo, who is one of the more difficult servicers to deal with.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Their original payment was $1,663. The original interest rate was 5.625. They were 16 months behind. Their new payment is $1,405. A new interest rate is 4%. That's a $257 a month reduction, or 15.4.
And they're stabilized. So if somebody thinks they might qualify for this, people can come in for a free consultation. How do we reach you?
They can reach our office by calling 1-877-MEDIATION. That's 1-877-MEDIATION, or 425-452-9797.
I can't believe you can remember that number. I can remember the first one. Jonathan, thank you. Jonathan also has a weekly call-in radio show called Legal Advantage on 97.3 Cairo FM. The shows are on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock. We'll be right back.